Dear students, our today's topic is the third poem of your English textbook, Keeping Quiet by Pablo Neruda. And in this video, I will give you a detailed account of the poet Pablo Neruda. Pablo Neruda, 1904 to 1973, whose real name is Neftali Ricardo Reis Pesalto, was born on 12th July 1904 in the town of Parral in Chile. His father was a railway employee and his mother, who died shortly after his birth, a teacher. Some years later, his father, who had then moved to the town of Timuco, remarried Donna Trinidad Candia Malverde. The poet spent his childhood and youth in Timuco, where he also got to know Gabriela Mistral, head of the girls' secondary school, who took liking who took a liking to him. At the early age of 13, he began to contribute some articles to the daily La Manana, among them Entusiasmo, Entusiasmosi Moi, Perseverenica, his first publication and his first poem. In 1920, he became a contributor to the literary journal Selva Austral under the pen name of Pablo Neruda, which he adopted in memory of the Czechoslovak poet John Neruda, 1834 to 1891. Some of the poems Neruda wrote at the time are to be found in his first published book, Crepuscularia, 1923. The following year saw the publication of 20 poemas de amore, una canción desesperada, one of his best known and most translated works. Alongside his literary activities, Neruda studied French and pedagogy at the University of Chile in Santiago. Between 1927 and 1935, the government put him in charge of a number of honorary consulships, which took him to Burma, Ceylon, Java, Singapore, Buenos Aires, Barcelona, and Madrid. His poetic production during that difficult period included, among other works, the collection of esoteric, surrealistic poems, Residencia en la Tierra, 1933, which marked his literary breakthrough. The Spanish Civil War and the murder of Garcia Lorca, whom Neruda knew, affected him strongly and made him join the Republican movement, first in Spain and later in France, where he started working on his collection of poems Espana en el Corazón, 1937. The same year, he returned to his native country. The same year, he returned to his native country, to which he had been. The same year, he returned to his native country, to which he had been recalled, and his poetry during the following period was characterized by an orientation towards political and social matters. Espana en el Corazón had a great impact by virtue of its being printed in the middle of the front during the Civil War. In 1939, Neruda was appointed consul for the Spanish emigration residing in Paris, and shortly afterwards, consul general in Mexico, where he rewrote his Canto General de Chile, transforming it into an epic poem about the whole South American continent, its nature, its people, and its historical destiny. This work, entitled Canto General, was published in Mexico 1950 and also underground in Chile. It consists of approximately 250 poems brought together into 15 literary cycles and constitutes the central part of Neruda's production. Shortly after its publication, Canto General was translated into some 10 languages. Nearly all these poems were created in a difficult situation when Neruda was living abroad. Nearly all these poems were created in a difficult situation when Neruda was living abroad. In 1943, Neruda returned to Chile, and in 1945, he was elected Senator of the Republic, also joining the Communist Party of Chile. Due to his protests against President González Videla's repressive policy against striking miners in 1947, he had to live underground in his own country for 2 years until he managed to leave in 1949. After living in different European countries, he returned home in 1952. A great deal of what he published during that period bears the stamp of his political activities. One example is Los Ovas, Y.L. Ventre, 1954, which can be recorded as the diary of Neruda's exile. In Odas Elementalis, 1954 to 1959, his message is expanded into a more extensive description of the world, where the objects of the hymns, things, events, and relations are duly presented in alphabetical form. In Odas Elementalis, 1954 to 1959, his message is expanded into a more extensive description of the world, where the objects of the hymns, things, events, and relations are duly presented in alphabetical form. Neruda's production is exceptionally extensive. For example, his Obras Completas, constantly republished, comprised 459 pages in 1951. In 1962, the number of pages was 1,925, and in 1968, it amounted to 3,237 in 2 volumes. Among his works of the last few years can be mentioned Cien Sonetos de Amor, 1959, which includes poems dedicated to his wife Matilda Eurosia, Memorial de Isla Negra, a poetic work of an autobiographic character in 5 volumes, published on the occasion of his 60th birthday. Arte de Pajaros, 1966, La Barcarola, 1967, the play Fulgarvai Muerte de Joaquin Murrieta, 1967. Further works: Geographia Imperactuosa, Barren Geography Poetry, 1972, Elmore y las Campanas, The Sea and the Bells, Poetry, 1973, Incitation al Nixonicidio y Alabanza de la Revolución Chilena, A Call for the Destruction of Nixon and Praise for the Chilean Revolution, Poetry, 1974. El Corazón Amarillo, The Yellow Heart, Poetry, 1974. Defectos Escogidos, Selected Waste Paper, Poetry, 1974. Elegy, Poetry, 1974. Confessio que he vivido, Memorias, Prose, 1974. Para Nasser he nacido, Passions of Impressions, Prose, 1978. Dear students, this was a detailed account of the poet Pablo Neruda, whose poem is in your syllabus in the core textbook of Flamengo for class 12, and the name of the poem is keeping quiet. With this, I conclude today's lecture. Hope you enjoyed it. But before closing, I request you to subscribe to my YouTube channel for further videos on English 12th. Thank you. Have a good day.